For a guy who hates every superhero, Peacemaker's show is full of references to them. From marquee heroes like Batman and Superman to the obscure Kite-Man and Bat-Mite, and even a little nod to the upcoming Black Adam movie. These are all the Easter eggs you missed in Peacemaker. Considering how dead he appeared to be at the end of the movie, it's a bit of a miracle that Peacemaker walked away from the events of the Suicide Squad at all. But walk away he did, and it turns out he kept a few souvenirs from his ill-fated trip to South America. After emptying the personal items he's carrying during his hospital visit in the first episode, viewers can plainly see a postcard from Corto Maltese. Furthermore, once Peacemaker attempts to pay his taxi driver for the car ride to his dumpy trailer, he offers him some currency from Corto Maltese, hinting to the driver that it could be worth $1 million. Of course, the driver isn't a fool and takes his helmet as payment instead. Aside from being the setting of the Suicide Squad film, Corto Maltese has an extensive history as a fictional country in the DC universe. It was first introduced in Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns comics, released in 1986. Miller used Corto Maltese as a sensitive pressure point in the burgeoning tensions between the US and the Soviet Union in the ongoing Cold War. In that series, the Soviets maintain control of the tiny South American island, but the US supports a rebellion to usurp power over the country's leadership. This causes Russia to fire a nuclear warhead at the US, which Superman attempts to stop. Corto Maltese is also referenced in Tim Burton's Batman in 1989 and countless comic storylines. It also makes several appearances in the CW's sprawling Arrowverse. In the first episode of Peacemaker, viewers who took a quick pause to view all of Peacemaker's personal items at the hospital may have noticed a note with the name Valentina on it, along with what might be a phone number. DC Comics fans will likely make the connection to Valentina Vostok, a DC character who was once a member of the Doom Patrol. Under the alias Negative Woman, the US government uses her for her unique espionage capabilities, and she often crosses paths with Peacemaker. Where Peacemaker obtains her phone number in his TV show is a bit of a mystery. Perhaps it occurs off-screen during the club scene in the Suicide Squad, or maybe it's something he's been carrying with him for quite some time. Seeing as Valentina is a Russian defector to the United States, however, she may have interest in Corto Maltese, or she could simply be an associate of Amanda Waller. It's anybody's guess, but perhaps we'll see her in Peacemaker Season 2. Peacemaker has a bone to pick with the Justice League. He may even be envious of their popularity and prestige in the superhero community. After all, Peacemaker often laments that no one likes him, but everyone loves Superman. In the first episode, Peacemaker is made fun of by the hospital janitor Jamil when he claims to be a superhero. After Jamil brings up his favorite hero, Aquaman, Peacemaker offers a story he heard from a credible source.
Aquaman f***s fish?
Yeah. I don't believe it. Guy on Twitter works for the aquarium. Said for $50 he brings him in the back so he can have his way with a sturgeon.
During a meeting, Clemson Mern discusses how the butterfly aliens take over human bodies by entering through an orifice. When the team jokes about John's slide depicting a butterfly entering a human anus, Peacemaker mocks another famous alien, Superman, for apparently having a unique fondness for bodily waste. Once again, the internet apparently tells no lies in Peacemaker's mind. Later, Peacemaker calls Batman a jackass who fails to do the job of eliminating villains while arguing with his father's neighbor. After appearing as a guest speaker at a school as a favor to Jamil and his daughter, one child asks Peacemaker if he ever met the Flash. He claims he has and that the Flash is a jerk, although he uses more colorful descriptors. Peacemaker also insinuates that Wonder Woman has the hots for him. Overall, it's pretty clear that Peacemaker has very little respect for the greatest heroes in the DCEU. It's no secret that Peacemaker doesn't play nicely with others. He also carries grudges and seemingly has one against the powerful DC Comics villain Eclipso, a powerful enemy who can absorb other heroes and take control of their abilities. In the first episode, an image of the villain can be seen on Peacemaker's dartboard in his trailer. The Peacemaker has a not-so-friendly run-in with the villain in the 1992 comic series Eclipso by Robert Loren Fleming and Odwin Jermaine Newman. In this series, Amanda Waller led a group of obscure DC characters known as the Shadow Fighters. Peacemaker is a part of the team tasked with bringing down Eclipso. The clash ends in disaster as many of the characters are killed, including Peacemaker, who dies in a helicopter crash. While this bit of history can't possibly exist in the TV series as Peacemaker is alive and well, James Gunn confirmed the reference on Twitter. Regardless, Peacemaker seems keenly and begrudgingly aware of Eclipso's existence. In the first episode of Peacemaker, Amanda Waller tasks her daughter Leota with the job of planting a fake Peacemaker diary in his apartment. That way, once the inevitable result of the mission is complete, a search of Peacemaker's home will incriminate the hapless mercenary and likely send him right back into Amanda Waller's arms. The diary cover has a sticker featuring a logo from the Wayne Foundation. The Wayne Foundation is a philanthropic entity and Bruce Wayne's means of advancing justice outside the cowl. He often uses the organization as a soapbox to advocate for economic reforms that will aid the lower class and help support the citizens of Gotham. The Wayne Foundation has also provided much-needed resources to the impoverished. The sticker on the faux Peacemaker diary is curious, as the symbol actually resembles the Wayne Enterprises logo seen in the Christopher Nolan trilogy of Batman films, not the different logo found in the DCEU. Of all the characters to receive a live-action reference, Bat-Mite was perhaps the least unexpected. The fifth-dimensional imp is known in the DC Comics lore as an extreme Batman fanatic. Essentially, he's like many of us, just smaller and with magical abilities. He shares the same home dimension as Mr. Mxyzptlk, a DC villain who appears in a memorable episode of Superman the Animated Series, among other places. However, Bat-Mite often just wants to see the Dark Knight in action. Sometimes he even throws obstacles in the hero's way just to gawk at Batman's prowess. He's sometimes helpful, but is more often a pain in the rear. When John Economist is bandaging up Peacemaker in Episode 2, the two share words as Peacemaker insists on mocking the tech liaison. John loudly exclaims that he'd rather work with Harley Quinn, the Weasel, or even Bat-Mite than with Peacemaker. Confused, Peacemaker questions who Bat-Mite is. Either Peacemaker is living under a rock in the DCEU world, or John simply knows of Bat-Mite from his experience in Black Ops missions under Amanda Waller. In the second episode of Peacemaker, John frames Peacemaker's father, Augie Smith, for the murder of the butterfly-bewitched assailant Peacemaker was forced to kill in the first episode. When Detective Sophie Song sees Augie's followers kneeling before him in lockup, she remarks to her partner that she had thought that capes were sent over to Arkham or Belle, Reve. This aside indicates that supervillains typically receive mental health treatment with their prison stay, or they're thrown to Amanda Waller to be utilized in her Suicide Squad. Arkham Asylum is a famous and iconic locale in the DC universe. It's located in Gotham City and houses many of Batman's villains deemed insane or mentally unstable. Of course, villains commonly escape from the maximum security facility because, well, Batman needs something to do. Belle Reve is another high-security facility that contains the most hardened and powerful metahumans. Amanda Waller is often seen operating the Suicide Squad out of this prison. Most of the Suicide Squad volunteers vying for a reduced prison sentence come from this prison. Detective Song's mention of both facilities acknowledges that the world contains baddies that aren't fit for ordinary prison life. Perhaps, considering that Augie isn't just a garden-variety scumbag and he's also the White Dragon, he should have landed in one of those places for his prison stay instead.
System's overcrowded. You'll have to stay here through his trial.
James Gunn clearly has an affinity for the lesser-known and obscure odd characters of the DC Comics world. In Episode 3, Peacemaker mentions another strange DC character known as Dollman.
Hey, Dollman? You ever meet him?
Dollman?
He turns small.
Murn's explanation is a bit of an oversimplification. Dollman certainly does shrink, but when he does so, he retains his physical strength as if he were still full-grown. While there are multiple versions of the character, the most famous iterations were Daryl Dane, a scientist, and Lester Colt, a special forces operator. They both gained the ability to shrink, although Lester's was a bit more permanent, at least for a time. Who knows what iteration of the character Peacemaker may have been referring to. Peacemaker has lived a wild life. The series makes no secret of that as he constantly unveils eyebrow-raising tidbits about his past. When talking to Murn about the idea of allowing Vigilante to join the team in Episode 4, Peacemaker questions the call, thinking that Vigilante might be a little too crazy for the mission at hand. Murn is aware of Vigilante's issues, but is willing to ignore them because he needs help. Peacemaker then makes a truly surprising reference.
Ever since I had to team up with Matter Eater Lad, my sense of what's normal is a little f***ed up.
Matter Eater Lad hails from the distant future. By nature of his race, he can eat matter in all of its forms, just as his name implies. Most famously, he joins the Legion of Superheroes. At first blush, the capability of eating anything might not seem practical when employed for superheroics. However, Matter Eater Lad is capable of using his powers to neutralize devastating weaponry, and he's capable of eating powerful artifacts that are deemed as indestructible. Humorously, Peacemaker remarks that he once saw the character eat an entire Wendy's restaurant.
His name is Matter Eater Lad?
Yeah, but with all that's going on, why are you so interested in him? Not the time to be getting distracted, Murn.
In Episode 4, Augie's elderly neighbor has fun taunting Peacemaker, whom he believes is nothing more than a fake superhero. At one point, Peacemaker is leaving his father's home with a bunch of helmets and equipment. The feisty neighbor mentions that Batman has a coterie of supervillains, listing Joker, Riddler, and Mad Hatter. He then asks why Peacemaker doesn't have his own collection of villains. Peacemaker exclaims that his enemies are lying 6 feet underground, and he attacks Batman's legacy for not being capable of pulling the trigger on these dangerous characters.
Batman doesn't kill people.
Because he's a
He's a dark creature of the night.
He's a jackass!
Of course, everyone is familiar with Batman's famous Rogues Gallery. Joker likely sits at the top of such a gallery in most people's eyes. However, the mention of Mad Hatter, also known as Jervis Tetch, is yet another fun reference to a villain that may not be widely known. This villain is famous for developing a technology that allows him to control others' minds when he places a card or hat on their head. In the 4th episode, a fun little superhero bunny figure can be seen sitting on the dash of Vigilante's car. This isn't simply a throwaway detail included showing how childlike or off-the-wall Adrian is. In fact, it's a reference to a fictional character, Ultra Bunny, who was created for the DCEU by James Gunn, as he revealed when he posted a sketch of the character on Instagram. In the Suicide Squad, Rick Flagg's team is eliminated, and he is taken captive by guerrilla fighters rebelling against the Corto Maltese regime. However, he's given a new shirt and some gear when it becomes clear that they are on the same side. The shirt he wears for the remainder of the film is an Ultra Bunny t-shirt. Apparently, the fictional character is even popular in Corto Maltese. Like Peacemaker, the starring role of the DCEU film Black Adam is played by a former pro wrestler, Dwayne Johnson. It only makes sense that serious fans get a few teases during the wait for that movie. The Peacemaker series provides one minor but clear-cut reference to Black Adam. In Episode 4, Leota prods Adrian to kill Peacemaker's father Augie while he's imprisoned. Adrian decides to get close to the racist scoundrel the only way he knows how, by getting arrested. When Adrian goes to a break area for guards on duty to chuck a garbage can into a window, he passes a prison guard who's killing time by reading a newspaper. One of the stories referenced is that of an inner gang potentially seizing control in the nation of Kahndaq. In one version of his origin story, Black Adam was born thousands of years ago in Kahndaq, a fictional country not unlike Egypt from a cultural standpoint. The wizard Shazam granted him powers to act as a protector. However, when a villain kills his family, Black Adam is enraged and vows to protect Kahndaq by any means necessary, including exacting bloody vengeance on criminals. The wizard sealed Black Adam away to keep him from causing further destruction. Kite-Man isn't a stranger to recent DC media projects, as he had a humorous role in the animated Harley Quinn series vying for Poison Ivy's love. As such, this reference may not be entirely lost on everyone. But even if you've never heard of Kite-Man, you can probably figure out what his power is. It's just as ridiculous as his name implies. Kite-Man's entire superhero persona is modeled around a kite. He can fly or glide like a kite and often employs kite-related weaponry. As a comic book character, he isn't well known and is generally regarded as a charming relic from a campier age of comic book storytelling. That said, Peacemaker at least takes Kite-Man seriously. In Episode 5, Peacemaker proudly displays a newspaper clipping in his trailer where he's hailed as a hero for apprehending Kite-Man. While Peacemaker has been derided during the series as being a wannabe superhero and even sometimes a villain, this clipping makes it appear that he was once recognized as a true blue good guy. Perhaps that's why he keeps a reminder of this fond memory in his trailer. In the next episode, he's seen telling school children the story of when he brought down Kite-Man and turned him in. Clearly, his battle with this less than nefarious villain is something that gives him great pride.
Wouldn't he have crashed anyway due to gravity?
No.
Perhaps Augie's elderly neighbor was onto something. Peacemaker may kill his enemies now, but at one point he used to operate as a straight arrow similar to Batman, a hero he seemingly despises. Midway through the series, Clemson Murn makes a deal with a former comrade, Casper Locke, to help tamp down calls for reworking the evidence incriminating Peacemaker, and Locke poses as the new police captain to accomplish this. However, during Locke's initial meeting with Murn in Episode 5, he references the duo's past in the jungles of Nyasir. Nyasir is another fictional country in DC lore located in northern Africa. It's only been referenced during one story in which Superman travels to the country to investigate a metahuman among the membership of a church being suppressed by the government. When the military takes part in killing missionaries, the metahuman known as Redemption launches a retaliatory attack. Superman comes to blows with the character, and Redemption proves to be able to handle himself against the Man of Steel. He can unleash blasts of energy and maintain the same level of strength as Superman. This could just be a simple reference for fans to consume or a potential narrative thread that may bear fruit in the future. Only time will tell. If the Justice League exists in the DCEU, surely some of the other more famous DC heroes like the Green Arrow do as well. In Episode 8, the team sets off on their noble mission to kill a cow, which is the food source of the series' butterflies. While devising a plan, Peacemaker's anti-gravity helmet floats away when Leota accidentally activates it with a voice command. Though frustrated, Peacemaker begins coming up with a new plan, coming up with the idea to plant his sonic boom helmet on top of the barn. He mentions shooting the fishing line to the barn from the top of one of the trees and letting the helmet slide down. The idea ends up reminding Vigilante of someone else.
Like Green Arrow?
No, not like Green Arrow.
Peacemaker, of course, has just as much disdain for Green Arrow as he does for every other DC superhero. He even claims that Green Arrow goes to brony conventions and cosplays as the rear end of Twilight Sparkle. Liotta finally says what we're all thinking by observing that Peacemaker has an absurd story for every superhero. Either Peacemaker is pretty naive and genuinely believes everything he reads on the internet, or he simply hates superheroes too much to care about spreading false rumors. Honestly, it's probably both.
Where do you get this nonsense?
Google.
Well, it's not true.
You know more than Google? Well, congratulations.
Alright, this is likely one Easter egg nobody missed. At the tail end of the series, the Justice League does arrive at the site of the Butterflies' clash with Peacemaker and crew, but they're too late. While Wonder Woman and Superman are presented as conspicuous silhouettes, Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller show up in the flesh to reprise the roles of Aquaman and the Flash. Aquaman even hilariously drops an F-bomb as he dismisses the rumors Peacemaker's been spreading about what he does with the fish.
I'm so sick of that rumor.
It's not a rumor.
You, Barry.
While it's obvious that Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot did not show up for this particular shoot day, Batman is curiously absent from the lineup as well. We know that Ben Affleck is coming back as Batman for a final performance as the character in the Flash movie, which raises questions about why he didn't show up here. Perhaps Batman couldn't arrive on the scene as fast as everyone else this time. Regardless, Peacemaker once again displays his disgust for the team and doesn't even give them the time of day. The only people happy to see the Justice League in the show are apparently the folks at home. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about the DC Extended Universe are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.